This is Kevin Sorbo. He had a conversation with Roseanne, and they said some absolutely psychotic stuff about like atheists and QAnon and all kinds of stuff, man. So I want to listen to this, see what they have to say to each other.
We have Kevin Sorbo on with us. Hi, Kevin.
Good to see you. Big fan. This is very exciting for me. I'm very honored to be on your show.
Well, we're honored to have you. You have a huge presence on, I guess we say X now.
It is
You
on
have a huge presence.
Isn't it fascinating how these people can't get used to a new name for a trans person, but they seem to pick up X with like no problem. They pick up new names for things that they care about really, really quickly.
As a conservative voice of America on X. So we're happy to have you because we see eye to eye on most things.
Well, Facebook took 4 million followers away from me during the COVID fear fact.
What, you mean because he was lying about stuff? Yeah, that doesn't surprise. Well, you know, it does surprise me that Facebook would do such a thing, actually. But it was the right thing to do for sure.
So I lost 4 million people there, but Musk hasn't taken me down yet. So this is a good thing.
No, please.
What do you think of him?
I'm pretty interesting. I think, I mean, obviously a very bright guy, very talented.
No, he's a colossal scumbag.
Guy. I think, I don't know. I want to meet him because you've retweeted me, and I appreciate that. President Trump retweeted me 10 times over the years, which I love.
That's
And
He's counting his retweets from Trump.
Tweeted me recently. So I said, dude, I want to meet you and talk to you. And it'd be cool. Now, you've never met him, I take it, or have you?
Musk?
Yeah.
No, I've never met him. And I always try to tweet or whatever we're calling it now, X him.
Post. Or I prefer Zeet. You can Zeet people now.
But he's not responsive. So I wonder about him a lot.
What? She's saying Elon Musk isn't responsive?
Because of what he allows on X, because it's like a double-edged sword on there. Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, but at least I got a voice to say something. I mean, as you know, most of my...
Okay, look, the thing is, with Elon Musk, since he's taken over X or whatever, Twitter, the twit, if you will, inappropriate images of kids are through the roof now. I don't know how these people can say that they're like in favor of kids or whatever, trying to save kids and simultaneously be in favor of like Twitter now and what it's up to. It is objectively a worse place to be. Like, I can't even search for stuff on air anymore because I don't know if I'm going to get like some crazy like inappropriate thing on stream, and then I've got like a big problem with YouTube and Twitch. I'm surprised she even brought it up. These people don't even acknowledge that usually.
My tweets or my X's, as you say, are sarcastic truth.
No, they're not.
I posted one recently. I said we should put on the teleprompter for Biden that he endorses Donald Trump as president and watch him read it. I think that'd be pretty funny.
That would be funny. He would read anything that he doesn't even have any concept of what he's doing at all.
How do you know any of this? What are you talking about? This is before Kamala took over, by the way, I think. Before she was like nominated the delegate. It's like a few months old, I believe. But anyway, these people are like the biggest jokes on planet Earth.
Does he?
It's almost sad in a way because even when he was a congressman 40 years, I kept trying to figure out what did he do in those 40 years, and for him to get
well, I mean, you can just look that up.
Get in there now. It's just, as you know, it's a joke. I fully believe that the election was rigged. As long
well, you're wrong, good sir.
As you have mail-in voting, there's always going to be cheating by 100%. Anybody. And I got kind of mad at the conservatives the last 3 years. That's been one of the main things they got rid of is voting by mail. Get rid of it.
Isn't that fascinating? So Donald Trump is now encouraging people to vote by mail, telling people you should do that. There's like a discrepancy here. Should people be doing it or not? Mail-in voting isn't dangerous. I don't think you can do this, but you should be able to print your ballot off online, just a blank ballot, and then fill it in with your information and send it. In fact, I think maybe you can. I'm not sure. I don't know. But that's what you should be able to do. It's ridiculous that we can't. It's more complex than it should be. The system is. Because of these guys. By the way, if you guys can like watch to the end of the video, it'd be really appreciated. That's how YouTube judges if a video should go further, is based on watch time.
It's stupid. And also show bloody ID. There's nothing racist about showing an ID.
Well, we show ID when we register. So show ID when? And what's the point? What's the purpose of showing ID? Why does he want to do that? The reason he wants to show ID is because Republicans are fully aware that limiting the number of people that can vote or suppressing the vote in some way makes it more likely that Republicans are going to win, that the right wins. It's always worked that way throughout human history. The right wins when fewer people's votes are counted or fewer people vote, period. So it does not surprise me to hear him saying this.
It's weird what they say. The hypocrisy is so brutal in D.C., and yet, we have a country of sheep. I think that's the biggest problem. And thank
Sheeple.
God you're a lion. I know I'm a lion. I'm trying to wake people up.
Well, they're definitely out of touch with the voting public, but they've made...
Dude, I love Roseanne. Two filthy rich people sitting here saying they're definitely out of touch. Who is out of touch?
That's obsolete. In some way, they figured out how to marginalize the majority, which I've said for a long time. They have figured out how to marginalize Main Street and the majority of Americans, which...
Yeah, except no one is doing that. They haven't done this, whoever they is. Republicans are not the majority of the country by any stretch of the imagination. Matter of fact, I'm reading and writing about Germany in the 1920s right now, so I'm coming back to that a lot at the moment. But once I finish writing about it, it'll probably fade into the background for me. But the Nazi Party only ever got 37% of the vote at their absolute height. In the last election that Germany had before they got the dictatorship, Hitler lost, of course, and he was a protest vote. People didn't want to vote for the other guy, Paul von Hindenburg, because he's like a far-right candidate. And they're like, look, I'm not voting for this piece of shit, so I'm going to vote for the most ridiculous person I can, like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or Jill Stein or something. Not quite like that, because obviously Hitler was way more ridiculous than those people that I listed, but you get the idea. The point is that the Nazis were not popular. They weren't. MAGA is not popular. I believe the Republican Party or society generally is probably comprised of about 10% QAnoners. It was way higher previously. But it comes in like concentric circles, so 15% may accept like beliefs that QAnon presents, that there are people working in the military to correct problems, and that there's a group of people that drink baby blood and shit like that. But they may not like fully accept QAnon officially on paper. I think the people who accept QAnon are probably 6% of the United States, but the people who accept their claims, their beliefs, are about 20 or 25%. Republican Party is only like 40% of the country, I think. That's my personal opinion on the stats. As you know, 83% of statistics are made up on the spot. So take that with a grain of salt. It is worth what you paid for it, basically. Anyway, the Nazis weren't popular. MAGA is not popular, but they were loud. They were obnoxious. They would not shut up. They have the image of being very popular, and that was part of the goal with Hitler. He lied about crowd sizes constantly. Said that when he held parades or whatever for Nazis, he said that like there were millions of people there when there were not. Image is everything with fascist regimes or fascist groups. Fake it till you make it. And we've seen nothing but fake it till you make it with Donald Trump and his whole movement. Anyway, keep listening here.
They're definitely out of touch with the voting public, but they've made us obsolete. In some way, they figured out how to marginalize the majority, which I've said for a long time. They have figured out how to marginalize Main Street and the majority of Americans, which is no small feat. But just because, they're so underhanded and crooked, I mean, nobody would have even thought that was possible.
Well, people, like I said, people need to wake up. I mean, it's we the people. They don't teach civics in school anymore.
Yes, they do.
They don't want kids to know that. I mean, you were going to school and I was going to school. I mean, there's nobody telling us how to vote. There's nobody telling me to believe in God or not to believe in God.
That's not happening now. What are you talking about?
I mean, the subjects they're being paid to teach. But the last 20, 25 years, it's gotten insane. And it's just accelerated.
What is insane? What are they talking about right now? None of this shit is happening. They live in an alternate dimension.
Even 5 years now. I thought 5 years ago we'd never be at the place we're at right now, and here we are. And it's just the insanity of what we got to fight the left with, and the insanity that we have so many Americans just letting them get away with it. And you see what Hollywood's doing with the products they're throwing down people's throats. I mean, it's weird to me. All these transgenders, these guys racing against women in sports. Where's the?
That's not happening. Are you shitting me right now? Where is this happening on like a large scale? Honestly, has this literally ever happened? I'm not even sure it has. I mean, a trans person competing against a cis person. I think that they have rules for it, right? And maybe it's happened like once or twice. But these people like dream up ridiculous scenarios that are completely unrealistic, like the Imaine Khalif thing. Remember where she was like fighting in the Olympics and people claimed that she was trans when she's not, like, at all? My God, people. They'll just say anything. It's so disgusting how they treat people around them, honestly. It's disgusting.
The uproar over this. I mean, it's just weird. And shame on the parents for letting the kids do that. I don't know. It's the fear.
I think there is an uproar, but that uproar is censored from coast to coast. And, they control the media, and that's their main.
Who is they? You think that there's some cabal controlling Fox News, really? There's a group of filthy rich people out there that try to push ideas on media. Fox News isn't even news. Okay? The news networks are not being controlled en masse by some secret cabal of people or whatever. No evidence for it at all. And there should be. I'm sorry, I got to step back for a second here. So these people are claiming that there's this big conspiracy theory happening right now, right? That the media is secretly taking advantage of people and lying and twisting things around and all this other stuff. Torture's been like illegal internationally for a very long time. And the United States had a torture program, full-blown torture program in Iraq. And this is like need to know stuff. This is like you can't talk about it outside of a secure bunker. That's how intensely careful the U.S. government was about it. But it still leaked. That's the thing. Things will always come out. Always. Always, always, always. You will always get information on it, no matter how badly this person wants to, like, cover it up. It'll take time, but it will come out. And it'll be, like, indisputable. Like the JFK files. This is why I don't believe that JFK was assassinated by, like, the CIA or whoever else. Because it remains firmly in conspiracy theory territory and has absolutely no hard evidence to back it up. None. I mean, if you go through the whole thing, I went on a bus tour in Dallas and went through, what's his name? Lee Harvey Oswald. Went through, like, traced his footsteps and looked at the building that he was sitting on and the whole thing, all of it. If a conspiracy theory really is true, it will not be covered up for long. It's partly why the flat earth conspiracy is so obscenely ridiculous to me. You know how many links in the chain there would have to be for like flat earth to be true? Telescope manufacturers, globe manufacturers, airline pilots, they would all have to be lying. Every government on the planet, every one of them. Russia, China, New Zealand, Australia, the United States, Canada, all of it. These people are obsessed with conspiracy theories that simply are not true. They simply aren't. It's also why I don't think that the U.S. has spotted aliens yet, because I don't think the government knows anything about or doesn't suspect that it's aliens. I think they believe that it's some other phenomenon. I also don't think the U.S. government believes that like these unexplained aerial phenomena are foreign countries, because if they did, then they wouldn't have announced that they knew that they were here, I imagine. I don't know. Anyway, the point is that if there's a conspiracy theory, it will come out. It will. Just a matter of when.
From coast to coast. And, they control the media, and that's their main cudgel in the overtaking and capture of our government.
Well,
any dissent is punished and silenced.
Which is
dissent is punished and silenced? Are you shitting me right now? They are literally dissenting right now. And are they being punished and or silenced? The answer is no, they're not. My God, get a grip on reality, Roseanne. You know, again, I'm going back to Germany because I'm studying that right now, but everything happened really fast. It all just fell into place, like within the span of months. It was really, really wild. It went from basically like what we see with MAGA right now. It went from that to you can't say anything negative. In fact, a soldier, well, he's not a soldier, he's a member of the Brown Shirts, eventually became the SA. It was basically like the Proud Boys, except he was like in an official position in the movement or whatever. He wrote a letter, or in his diary or whatever. This is before diaries were considered gay. He wrote in his diary that last year at Christmas time, his family made fun of him and laughed at him and thought he was ridiculous for buying into all this Nazi nonsense. This year, he's like valued and respected, and everybody wants to know him and talk to him, and they all think he's cool and interesting. He was pointing out that there's like a very sudden flip, although this guy didn't even realize that it was because people were afraid of him, or they were afraid of the regime, and they thought if they needed to, they could appeal to him to defend them or whatever, you know? This censorship thing is real. It really does happen in other countries, in other areas, or in continents, whatever. If you can say openly you're not allowed to dissent, you're allowed to dissent, probably. If you can say it openly without fear of going to jail, then you can, you know, there's no censorship, no government censorship happening, really, not to a large degree. Like, these people don't know the meaning of censorship. They've never seen what happens when the government is genuinely, actually, really censoring a group of people. It's disturbing shit.
It's amazing. I mean, Andrew Breitbart, I mean, maybe someone said it before him, but
oh God, he's a nutcase.
He said politics runs downstream from culture. Who runs the culture? Hollywood does, and the mainstream media.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe of all these.
Oh, I think that was Roseanne's kid that just popped up for a second. Her son. He's also a nutcase. QAnoner.
Liberal reporters and journalists. Don't you think there's one out there that says, guys, how much longer are we going to keep this thing going? This is crazy. We see a president that can't put two sentences together, and nobody changes the output of this stuff. There's got to be.
Yeah, there's got to be one, right? Is what he's saying?
One journalist out there that says enough is enough.
Isn't that weird? There isn't even one. Almost like it's completely made up, huh? Doesn't matter how classified it is, it will always come out. Even if it takes like 50 years. This just is not how society works, what he's describing here.
Now,
and you know, like in Germany, there were some telltale signs that people could pick up on to tell that something was going downhill. With fascism, there are like 14 points to fascism in Umberto Eco's kind of scale or chart or whatever you want to call it on fascism. 14 points, right? And he says there will always, and he says a government doesn't have to have all 14 qualities of fascism. This, you know, heroism, persecution complex, and a whole bunch of others. It doesn't have to have all 14. It has to have one. And fascism will coagulate around that one and kind of build out the infrastructure to participate in the other 13 points or whatever. I don't want to go through it right now. It's in my book if you want to find it. OwenMorgan.com. It's about how Hitler used the church to take advantage of people. But, you know, it's things like your enemy must be simultaneously strong and weak at the same time. They're too stupid to run the government, too stupid and incompetent, but they're too overwhelmingly powerful for us to overcome. So we're constantly being persecuted by them. You know, that's kind of the idea. Appeal to a frustrated middle class. Fascism is a result of frustration. The middle class has at least one shared frustration. They fear they might lose their position, money, friends, or job. Fascists appeal to that fear, commonly through a rhetorical style called populism. Rejection of modernism, cult of tradition, action for action's sake. They can have just one of these to be fascist, but they commonly have a lot more than just one, is the point here.
And nobody changes the output of this stuff. There's got to be one journalist out there.
People are convinced that there's a group of people out there trying to persecute them. They're convinced that they're being taken advantage of constantly. It's just insane to me.
says enough is enough. Now, I know you know Bill Maher. I used to be on Bill Maher's Politically Incorrect when he had that show. And you see some of the stuff he's saying now, he's waking up a little bit. But the reality is, I think Maher is more of a JFK Democrat than he is what the Democrat Party is today. And he's getting very, very interesting and very vocal about some of the things he's saying.
You know, this is a fascinating thing. These people are convinced that, like, the Democratic Party has moved away from the left and gone into, like, communism or whatever. That's not what happened. Okay, the left is exactly where it was 50 years ago, pretty much. I mean, it's moving toward people having the opportunity to, you know, lowering the amount of discrimination in the workplace, and gay marriage is allowed and things, but it's moving toward human rights, I suppose you could say. But the right is what is moving further out from where it used to be. Eisenhower in the 50s, a Republican, is where Democrats used to be now. Like, they're getting so far right, you can't even see them anymore from where they are. It's nuts. And these people are, like, convinced that they're the sane ones. They're the normal ones. See, this is what scares the shit out of me, truthfully. How do you tell if you're the sane one? I'll tell you what I do. I check to see how many lies 1 or 2 or 3 articles are telling, and how often I find lies from these articles. Every single time I find a source of news that's talking about something on the right positively, it is littered with lies every time. That's not the case every time I read an article that leans left. That's how I tell which side is more trustworthy.
I know, I just emailed him today and I said, Bill, you're starting to sound more like me every week.
Oh, she's really far right. QAnon, full-blown QAnon. I don't know if you saw this. I did a video about it not too long ago, but this is her at Mar-a-Lago.
Hey, old Rose, how are you doing? I'm here at Mar-a-Lago supporting Carrie Lake, and it was a fantastic evening.
Early August 2024.
Our Trump is here being the DJ, and I've just danced and everyone's amazed. So I'm just going to say to you, please drop out of college because it's going to ruin your lives. Do me a favor, drop out. They don't teach you nothing good. Email me or
This is anti-intellectualism, another one of the 14 points of fascism.
Twitter me or whatever you call me, and I'll help you with your life. But you got to get out of college because it isn't nothing but devil-worshipping, baby blood drinking Democrat donors.
See what I'm saying? This is full-blown QAnon ideology. And actually, it's blood libel from like the 1300s against Jews. People used to claim that Jews were like eating babies and stuff back in the day. When I finally became an atheist, I remember hearing people say that atheists eat babies just to, like, as a meme, a joke, and come to find out people really do say that shit, like genuinely say that and genuinely mean it. It is wild.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, the point is that Roseanne is just off her rocker completely.
Which he's going to be horrified to hear, but it's true. Because, you know, common sense dictates, you know, reality, really.
And common sense is not real.
And they don't live in reality, and they're so out of touch with the voters and the regular public, Americans, who have actual values that they have, you know, I don't know if they ever were in touch in Hollywood with any kind of American values. Maybe they were during World War II, but since then, you know, they've been getting away from it, and their loathing of the working class getting deeper and deeper and deeper, which makes me so sick.
Yeah.
This is absolutely insane. Icy Spin says, how many of the German population knew about camps? Not many, surprisingly. They all knew that Jews were being persecuted terribly, so I'm not giving them a pass on that at all. But almost none of them knew about death camps. Some small subsection of the German population knew that there were industrialized killing, like, systems or whatever. But pretty much all of them knew that Jews were being, like, persecuted terribly, and many of them knew that they were being killed, just not on an industrial scale like that. The main 6 death camps, Auschwitz, Dachau, Treblinka, so on, people knew that there was something there, but they didn't know that it was, like, they didn't know what the conditions were. And when some Germans found out They were horrified. They were disgusted. They were revolted. They said, we deserve whatever happens next. Denazification was actually really easy in some ways, and difficult in others, of course. There wasn't very much support for the Nazi movement in Germany, but the radicals were real radical, absolutely nuts. Denazification efforts included things like going around and putting up signs that said, you did this is your fault, and showing like images of death camps, and screening video footage to large groups of people of bulldozers pushing bodies into a mass grave and stuff. That was like what it took to snap people out of it, largely. It was absolutely nuts. And you know what else, like, with Germany? I'm sorry, like, I'm really deep into this subject right now. That's why I'm talking about it so much. But Russia, or the Soviet Union at the time, was worse than Germany. More people died under Stalin's rule through persecution than died under Nazi rule, surprisingly, really. People underestimate how fucking wild the Soviet Union was and how depraved and disgusting it was, truthfully. Calling somebody a communist is like a ridiculous, it's a ridiculous insult. Like, people aren't communists the way that they're portraying, but it should be an insult, actually. Like, if they're implying that you're from the Soviet Union or you support it or whatever, it should be an insult tantamount to calling someone a Nazi because of how many people died there. It's insane. Anyway, the Germans, after losing, they were rushed on the east by Russia and on the west by the Americans and some others, British and stuff. And the people, they were victims too, the people in Germany, terribly. Like, most people in Germany couldn't handle what was happening. They ran out of people that they needed for the war effort. Germany did. All of their soldiers had died effectively, and Russia was coming right around the corner. So Hitler, his plan was basically to put Russia in a bad position so that they'd be willing to negotiate with him, and maybe he could come out of it on the other side with favorable conditions if he teamed up against the Americans with Germany, right? That was his plan. But he didn't have any soldiers left. He had nothing. He had no army. So he ordered his soldiers, so he ordered the population to go in and get, put on uniforms and get like whatever weapons that they had and report to this base or whatever to fight. And he found out that it was a terrible idea. Like, they were just bad. People who are not trained soldiers are not good at fighting wars. You need training for that. But anyway, there's a group of girls, like 12 of them or something. I don't remember how many. They reported to this station as ordered, and one of them disobeyed an order when they got there, and they dragged her in front of the other girls and shot her in the head in front of them. And like 5 of them fainted right then and there. One was vomiting. It was just like, they hadn't been trained. They hadn't been desensitized to everything. Nazis had spent like a long time being desensitized and working them up to a point where they could do these things or even just see them. Anyway, it was very clear at a certain point that they were going to lose the war. And so Hitler said, he ordered them to scorch the land, basically, to make it impossible for Russians or Americans or anybody else to like live off the land. And Hitler's generals said to him, they brought their own supplies. They're not living off of the land. By scorching the land and making it impossible to farm or anything, you're only killing us. And Hitler, in response, basically said, if I'm gone, I don't give a shit. If I lose and if I die and lose this war, I could not possibly care less about the German people. That is some wild shit to say. So they scorched the land. By the end, Hitler was like really, really sick because he had Parkinson's disease. He was negatively affected by an assassination attempt on his life. He's visibly shaking now because of the Parkinson's and everything. He's just a wreck. And the generals, the field marshals and things were taking orders from him and then just not doing it. They weren't following what he said at a certain point because he was so irrational and insane at that point. And like he didn't even seem to know what was going on at a certain point. And he was depressed. Nobody had seen him in forever. Came to the point where his second in command, Göring, said, if I don't hear from you by 10 o'clock tonight, then I'm taking control of the military, because everybody thought Hitler was dead. And Hitler had him relieved for treason and stuff. And then somebody else tried to take control. It was just a total mess. Anyway, there was a point to this. I'm trying to remember what it was. I don't think Göring was briefly in charge. Somebody says he was briefly in charge. I think that he briefly took charge for a day, but that was it. And that's when Hitler said, you're a traitor, get out of here, basically. But yeah, people just, he was just a wreck, is the point, I guess. Apparently they had cyanide capsules. And I looked into it, and apparently this is if you're gonna go, this is the best way to go. Because cyanide apparently effectively makes it so that your cells can't produce, or they can't carry oxygen. And within seconds of just, it absorbs into your skin. So you put it in your mouth, this glass capsule, you bite down on the glass, and within seconds it absorbs under your tongue and you pass out. And within minutes of passing out, you're dead. So Hitler did that and then, took a bullet immediately after biting down on his cyanide capsule. Anyway, everybody in the bunker took cyanide pretty much. Hitler and Goebbels, the propaganda minister, he had his wife and his 6 kids there, Goebbels did. He injected his kids with morphine until they went to sleep, and then he hit them with cyanide. Why take out the kids, honestly? My God, bro. Anyway, these people were absolutely nuts. The whole thing was nuts. Göring, though, as I was saying, he was not at the bunker, I believe. He was trying to control the military and keep things kind of at a controlled descent, if you will. And Hitler, when he found out that Göring took control briefly, for a day or something, he lost his shit on him. By the end of the day, though, I believe the Americans had taken the whole area. And I remember what I was saying now. Damn. Okay, circle back around. Sorry. Going off on a little tangent here. Americans come in from the west, Russians come in from the east, and the Germans were in really, really bad shape because the Russians were more brutal than the Germans were. And the women were being taken advantage of on a systemic scale. Girls had to, and I'm talking any age, girls had to take a Russian boyfriend for protection. Otherwise, they wouldn't, otherwise they'd be taken advantage of by every single person in this battalion or whatever. And it got to the point where it was so rampant that the women started joking about it. They had dark humor about it. They said they noticed that the Russians tend to like the plump ones, quote unquote. Holy shit, man. Point is that Germans were the other victims of Hitler's plan. Bit of the people in the bunker left, right. I'm sorry, I meant leadership, not everyone in the bunker. And after Hitler died, some people took his body out into the the yard thing there and burned it. Anyway, absolutely nuts, man. My grandma was in evacuation Saxony. Russians came through. My grandmother's mother was lying in a bed. My grandmother and her grandmother in another. My grandma's grandma hid the child with her body. Soldiers only saw the old woman. They proceeded to take advantage of her. Wow. Insane. The Germans were the other victims, really. People underestimate how badly they were treated after everything that Hitler did. And again, Hitler didn't have popular support, really. I mean, he certainly looked like he did, because anybody who opposed him went straight to jail or a concentration camp or whatever, political prisoners, red triangles, marked as communists. But those people were terribly mistreated. It was ugly, real ugly. And I'm sure the Americans probably did some of that too, but the Russians were absolutely off the hinges with it. Disgusting stuff, man. Anyway, I'm sorry. I get off on tangents sometimes. I'll probably cut a lot of that out. I thought it was an interesting story. Had to listen to her mother in the adjacent bed. Yeah, that was another thing. Russians had a tendency to do that stuff in front of family members intentionally as a method of humiliating the people around, like, the husbands and brothers and sisters and everything. A form of retribution. Now, Americans by this time, democracies generally accepted that that's like disgusting and horrific and wrong. But Russia was an ugly place at that time, man. It was an ugly place with ugly people, mentally, emotionally ugly. Holy Christ on a cracker. Hitler also ordered people to take like a ton of meth. Like they had to stay up for 3 days straight one time moving tanks into France, I think, is what they were invading. 3 days straight they were running these tanks in, and everybody was on meth. All the way down the line. They had checkpoints where they had set up like fuel depots to refill the fuel tanks on the, to refill the fuel on the tanks. And the tank operators, the gas distributors, everybody was all on meth. It was crazy. Morphine was limited, access to morphine, because the raw materials you need for that are, in an area that was not very friendly to Germany. And so Germany invented methadone. Didn't really work the same way, didn't really do the same thing, but yeah, methadone's been invented by Hitler, surprisingly. So it was Florida? Yeah. That's good. I like that. Morphine relaxes you, I believe. Yeah, it relaxes you. It kills pain completely, like just removes pain entirely. It's like really, really impressive how well morphine works, but it's super addictive. Goring was addicted to morphine. Anyway, yeah, all right, let's keep listening. Oop.
I mean, they live in a bubble just like Washington, D.C. does, and that's why they just want to be bi-coastal with those guys, and they don't pay attention to what's happening in middle America. I think most of Americans are conservative. I really do.
I do too.
I mean, but what do you think is going to happen this next
Well, I'm sorry, you're wrong. That's not the case.
election? Do you think there's any way that Biden is going to run and Biden's going to win again? Because it's crazy to me what they're doing and what they're planning.
Who is they? And also, again, this is before Kamala Harris came in, so yeah. I love how these people are just like believe that Trump has a really good chance of winning. And then when Kamala comes in, they say, well, Trump's going to lose because the deep state is blah, 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 blah. It's like, dude, this is a joke. These people are totally just detached from reality. They back into whatever position is most advantageous to them at any given moment, and that's it.
You mean win or win?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Well, my opinion on the election is everybody thinks it's suspect. But, I always
No, not everybody. Just her and her weird little group.
say, we'll see. I don't think there will be an election.
Are you kidding me?
And I don't think that it will matter at all.
Really?
No, I don't.
You don't think Trump getting back in there can at least shake things up a little bit? I mean, I thought he did a pretty good job.
Well, I mean, that's the goal, that we get Trump back in there. But, I mean, will they let him?
Yeah.
And if he does and is, inaugurated, what will they do to him this time? Look what they did to him last time. So I don't know.
Who is they and what did they do?
Oh, but I do think that what really matters is that the people in each state will take control of their local government. That's what really matters. Trump or no Trump, and I love Trump like nobody else. I want him. I see it. But I think what he's trying to teach us is that it is a return to the people of our government, and we have to step.
Trump is trying to teach us something? What? Like this dude knows literally anything?
Up and do it. And I think that is what he continually tells us. I mean, I think they might try to put him in prison, and I think he's willing to do it to wake people up to, hey, you have to control your local government.
Oh my God, this is so stupid.
And your state government, because that's the only weapon we have against this bloated federal communist fascist.
Yeah.
Dude, I love this. They're just like throwing out whatever words they think will resonate with people. Communist, fascist. What other words we got going on here?
Caliphate of a degenerate government.
Is it communist or is it communist or is it a caliphate or is it fascist or what? I suppose it could be like some of those. These people have contradictory viewpoints on everything. This is just so wild to me.
That we're paying for.
Well, it's a joke. Ever since he was coming down that escalator and said, I'm running for president in 2015, they went after him big time. And before that, everybody loved the guy. They all wanted him to do guest spots on there. We do a cameo on my movie or TV show.
And he did.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. They all wanted him on there, and they all wanted to have him on talk shows. The minute he does this, 9 straight years they've attacked this guy. 9 straight years. It's unbelievable.
Well, I think that, I'm one of the...
I mean, he's a colossal scumbag, and, he attacked a whole bunch of people, too. I don't know what they mean by attacked, though. Are you saying, like, people criticized him? Yeah, he was the president. Of course they did. People not allowed to criticize the president?
Those people that think this was a huge sting operation, a lot of people think...
What was a sting?
That way. Jake doesn't like it when I start talking this way.
You're allowed to say whatever you want. It's your
But I think that our military got Trump to run, and they asked him to. And he was in with them for a long, long time, since Kennedy. And, our military, they said, we're going to do this and that and this.
Okay, now hang on. What she's about to do, I think she's going to wade into some QAnon stuff here. QAnon believes that the military has, like, white hats, good people, quote unquote, in their ranks that are trying to sway the direction of things. And at some point in time, the white hats are waiting for the bad guys to tip their hand. And when they do, then the white hats are going to strike and arrest a bunch of people and take advantage of the situation and so on and so forth. So I think what she's about to describe is the military arresting a whole bunch of bad people. And the storm happens at that point.
He was in with them for a long, long time, since Kennedy. And, our military, they said, we're going to do this and that and this and that, because they saw what was going on. And, the generals, the real generals, not the TV generals.
See what I'm saying? The TV generals, as she views it, quote unquote, are the black hats, but people behind the scenes are working for the people. It's just insane.
But the real generals in our military knew what was going on and saw what was happening. And so they asked Trump to run, and it was, oh yeah, we're doing a sting. And I see evidence of it all the time. And they walked right into it. And Trump is like, he's playing the heel. He trolls them, and then they can't help but fall over themselves to break the law. Like these trials they're doing with Trump, they're all illegal.
Huh.
And they're
Are they? They're illegal. It's illegal to charge a former president for crimes that he committed? Okay. Haven't heard that one.
trolls them, and then they can't help but fall over themselves to break the law. Like these trials they're doing with Trump, they're all illegal.
Huh.
And they're falling all over themselves to do it because, they're that stupid. And
I don't know who they is. Again, this is you hear her, they're that stupid. This is one of the defining features of fascism right here. Your enemy is simultaneously too weak to run anything competently or do anything at all competently, and too strong to overcome. It's just insane, bro. The whole thing is mutually inconsistent beliefs. It's all based around that. You cannot believe all of the things that these people believe simultaneously. It makes no sense.
arrogant. But of course, they're being monitored the whole time, as was the 2020 election and the 2016 election, and they're going to get caught. And I think it's coming to the point before 2024 where they will be caught. Ladies, blink if you have not purchased a Father's Day gift yet. Yeah, we thought so.
Okay, I actually love the advertisements because they're so ridiculous, and I love finding out which companies we shouldn't buy from because of how absolutely insane they are. So let's listen to what she has to say here.
Today's episode is brought to you by Manscaped,
Oh no, really? Them? That's a shame.
the leaders in below the waist grooming for the men.
Love this stuff.
Whether it's for your husband, baby daddy, or father
Baby daddy. Oh, that's so cringy.
figure, or, some neighbor guy, our friends at Manscaped have crafted the total package for his special day. Whether it's for his boys downstairs, his beard, or even the best pair of underwear out there.
Oh my god, dude, this is cringy and terrible. What the hell?
Manscaped has all his bases covered. Head over to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code Roseanne. From daddy to zaddy. Trust
Oh god, Roseanne, please stop.
Manscaped.
You know, they also have that beard hedger, that whole kit.
Okay, I can't anymore. I'm sorry, man. Now we know who not to support. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. These people are just ridiculous and cringy and terrible.